Hi YouTube, what's up? Awesome here. Can't wait for Battle of Edmonton in Florida. What's up? Awesome here. Can't wait for Battle of Edmonton in Florida. And can't wait for Battle of... And sure, this will be a great game tonight. So I hope everyone enjoys. Yeah, Florida currently has a 3-2 lead in the series. So this could be a cup clinching game. And hoping Edmonton can get a win tonight to force a game 7. And we'll see if either Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard will start in net for Edmonton tonight. And then I believe Sergei Bobrovsky will start in net for the Florida Panthers. And, we'll just have to see if Connor McDavid can work his magic, and hopefully Edmonton wins. So, we'll have to see if we'll just have to see if Edmonton can pull it out tonight and force a game 7, which hopefully they do. And got some hockey cards for intermission. I'll start up a poll here. Alright, got the poll started in chat. So, we'll just have to see who wins tonight's game between Edmonton and Florida. Welcome into all new viewers. We got a poll going on in chat asking who will win tonight's game, so feel free to check that out. And I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year, so if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. As Game 6 should be underway here pretty soon. I'll quickly run through leaders in points, goals, assists. It's a tie for first in points in these NHL playoffs, with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid tied for first at 33 points. Sam Bennett is first in the NHL playoffs in goals with 15. And Connor McDavid is in the lead with assists with 26. And Stuart Skinner leads Edmonton in wins with 7. And Sergei Bobrovsky leads the Florida Panthers with all their wins with 15. So let's hope Edmonton can pull it out tonight. And hopefully can win the cup. And the Stanley Cup hasn't been in Canada for 32 years, so it'll be exciting to see the Stanley Cup back in Canada. The Montreal Canadiens were the last team to win the Stanley Cup back in the 1992-93 season. So it'd be great to see if Edmonton can finish the story and win the cup. And Game 6 should be starting here soon. So Florida leads this series in goals allowed per game with 2.5. Edmonton is 11th in the league with goals allowed per game with 3.2, nearly 3.25. Florida's first in goals for per game with 4.05, and Edmonton is third with 3.86 goals for per game. And we'll have to see if Connor McDavid can get a goal tonight. He did in last game. we'll just have to see how everyone does tonight. So, hopefully this is a fair game, both for Zebras, aka the referees, and hopefully it's a fair game for the players. So we'll have to see how tonight's game goes. Let's hope everyone does well. And we'll have to see how special teams do for both teams, both the penalty kill and power play, which are both important if you want to do well in these playoffs. Edmonton's isn't looking so good right now. 14th in these playoffs with 67.1% on the penalty kill. Florida is first with 86.4%, killing off most of the penalties, which is what you want to do in these playoffs. Not allowing too many goals on the power play or shorthanded. So we'll see how the special teams do today. And I have a good feeling the game will start here shortly. I'm sorry. Game should be starting here soon. Game should be starting here soon. question here in chat. And here we go with the start of the game. And here we go with anthems. Feel free to respond to the question. Good start with anthems. And we are ready to start game 6 with a bang. And Florida fans are getting hyped up. tonight, and we're getting ready for the opening face-off, which is won by Florida. He takes it into their own zone. Edmonton tries to take it away, and that'll be icing. And this could be the end of the season for Edmonton and Florida as well, as Florida is leading 3-2 in these cup finals, as Florida wins the face-off and sends it all the way down the ice. Face-off will take place in Edmonton zone, and a shot blocked in front as Edmonton takes it out to center and dumps it in. Florida coming from their own zone through center, sending it into Edmonton zone. And it's Stuart Skinner in net for hold on, just gotta get here. There we go. And here's a 5-on boards for the puck and a shot saved by Bobrovsky. Don't believe he knew where the puck was. And Corey Perry laid a good hit on Brad Marchand. And then a good shot, which is stopped by Bobrovsky. And here comes the face-off in Edmonton zone. Here comes Florida, sending it out to center. And Edmonton now with the puck retreating into their own zone, sending it up through center. Here's Edmonton with the shot blocked in front and sent wide. Here's Bennett now coming through center. Now a shot sent wide. Edmonton tries to clear it out, but Florida keeps it in. Florida behind the net, sending it around the boards. Draisaitl passing it to his teammate and sends it into Edmonton or Florida's zone. Sorry. Puck sent towards the net. Went wide. Now fight for the puck and behind the goal line. Puck sent up high and then now behind the net again. Another shot stopped by Bobrovsky. Florida tries to send it out, but can't successfully do so, as Edmonton keeps it in. And shot saved by Bobrovsky, and we got a scrum now behind the net. As tensions are starting to rise. What a game so far, filled with good hits and chances. Edmonton is leading in shots 4-0 with 17 minutes to go left in this first period. Face off in Florida zone. Won by Edmonton, but Florida takes it away. Here comes Florida at center, sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner tried to stop that. Edmonton tried to clear it, but couldn't. Here's a shot saved by Skinner. Another shot saved by Skinner. As Edmonton is trying to get the puck out of their offensive zone, which they do. Only to center, though, before they bring it back into their own zone. Here's Edmonton at center trying to send it in. Reinhardt trying to send it in. Skinner out to stop the puck. Scrum for the puck behind the net. Edmonton comes out with it. Bouchard had it taken away. Here's a chance. They score! 1-0 Florida. What a start to this game. Reinhardt got the goal. As Edmonton wins the face-off and sends it towards Bobrovsky. And here's Florida at center. Shot sent towards Skinner. Stopped by Skinner. Trying to see how many goals Reinhardt has, but chaos in front of the net, and Skinner stops the puck. Taylor is not at the game tonight, at least I don't believe, as a shot is deflected by Skinner, and now Florida is sending the puck behind the net. Here's Edmonton now coming through center, sending it into Florida zone, but Florida takes it away. And Florida sends it into Edmonton zone as Edmonton tries to clear the puck, which they do. Here's Florida in their own zone. Takeaway. Florida sends it out. Florida now with the puck in their own zone. Coming through center. Scrum along the boards for the puck. And Edmonton comes away with it. Sends it into Florida's zone. Fight along the board for the puck. And Florida comes away with it, coming through center. Tried to get a chance on net. Unsuccessful. And Florida tries to send it in deep in Edmonton zone. Not very successful on that. And the shot blocked in front as Edmonton clears the puck out to center before Florida sends it back in. And the shot is sent wide of Skinner's net. And here comes Edmonton. And Bobrovsky plays the puck. Now Florida. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so yawny during these streams. As icing as the call after Florida sends it all the way down the ice. And Taylor Swift is not at tonight's game, at least to my knowledge. And Florida wins the face-off. Sends it out to center. Edmonton now in their own zone. Sending it into Florida's zone. After a pass to center. And Bobrovsky freezes the puck. And they'll go to a commercial break here. Florida is currently leading 4-0. Or not 4-0, I'm sorry. 1-0. And yeah, we're around 5.5 minutes in here. Welcome into all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So, subscribing would be greatly appreciated. And Edmonton is leading in shots, 6-5 over Florida, but Florida is leading on the scoreboard, 1-0 so far in Game 6 of these Cup Finals. And we'll see if Stuart Skinner can do the best he can in net. Here's the face-off won by Florida as they send it out towards center ice. Edmonton now with the puck. Sending it into Florida's zone. Battle for the puck in the corner. Florida gets the puck. Here comes Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Skinner out to stop the puck as Edmonton clears it around their net, but here's Florida trying to maintain possession here. Takes a shot, sent wide. Edmonton looking to clear. Edmonton looking to get the puck in their offensive zone, but Florida sends it in Edmonton's zone. But here comes Edmonton now with the puck, sending it into Florida's zone. Bobrovsky out to play that. Edmonton barely keeps it in here as Florida tries to clear again, but Edmonton keeps it in. Now Florida clears the puck out and Edmonton sends it right back in. And Florida sends it all the way down the ice for icing. Face off in Florida zone. And we have a poll going on in the chat, so feel free to go check that out. And trying to get to 100 trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so please subscribe. As battle in the corner for the puck. Edmonton sends it around the boards. Edmonton sending it back behind the net. Here's Edmonton sending it back up. A shot. Sent wide, and Bobrovsky now. Oh, and now we got a scrum with Kane in the middle of it. Refs are trying to break it up. Things are getting physical after the whistle. Feel like we might get a penalty here. Feel like Edmonton will get maybe 1 or 2 penalties. Same with Florida. You know, we're going to 4-on-4 hockey for 2 minutes, I believe, for roughing. Yeah, I think Kane in the box for Edmonton, and then didn't really get a good look on who got in the box for Florida. And here's Edmonton after the face-off. And it was apparently Sam Bennett for roughing. And hit in the corner by Florida as Edmonton keeps possession of the puck. Here's Draisaitl back up to Bouchard with a shot saved by Sergei Bobrovsky as Florida tried to get going on a chance, but here's Edmonton now. Draisaitl. McDavid with a shot saved by Bobrovsky, And here's Florida now behind their net, coming out from their own zone. Here's Florida in their own zone. Big hit on Marchand. No call there. And here's fight along the board for the puck. Here's Edmonton. Just under 9 minutes here to go. Nearly 30 seconds left in 4-on-4, and here's Edmonton now in their zone, or in Florida zone, sorry. And Florida sends it out. Here comes Edmonton through center. Here's Florida now after that takeaway. Here's a takeaway by Edmonton. Fight along the boards for the puck, and now we're at full strength again. 5-on-5 as Florida ices the puck. And a great shot by Bouchard, but great pad save by Bobrovsky as shots on goal favor Edmonton 8-5. There's another shot by Edmonton, stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's Bouchard. Bouchard with a shot blocked in front. Here's Florida now, sending it out to center. Pass blocked. Shot. I'm sorry. Don't know why I'm yawning so much, but that shot was saved by Skinner, and Edmonton sends it out to center. And here's McDavid, poked away by Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida through center into Edmonton's zone. Behind the net now, Florida gains control. Here's Florida. Shot stopped by Bobrovsky, and that deflects out of play. And good chance by Connor McDavid, just was poked away by Bobrovsky at the last second. And Sergei Bobrovsky has done great for these Panthers in these playoffs. Playing in all 22 games so far, winning 15 of them. Shots on goal are in favor of Edmonton. I believe 9-6. And welcome into all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm looking to get to 100 by the end of this year. So, you subscribing is greatly appreciated. And feel free to share this stream with some of your friends who are either getting into hockey or have been watching hockey for a while, or you're just looking to have a fun time tonight while watching the game. So feel free to invite some people to the stream. Here's a face-off won by Florida as Edmonton sends it down the ice. I'm sorry. Florida now with the puck. Edmonton now with the puck, sending it behind the net, and out to center ice. Here comes Edmonton through center, sent into Florida zone. Florida sends it out, but Edmonton sends it right back in. Bobrovsky had to stop the puck. Edmonton now. Fanned on a pass is Florida, and now here comes Edmonton with a fanned shot. Here comes Edmonton with a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky. Florida sends it out of their zone, and here comes Edmonton, here is Edmonton actually in their own zone. Here they come now through center, sending it into Florida zone. Here's Edmonton now, Corey Perry elected to pass, and here's Bouchard passing it over, sending it behind the net. Florida tried to send it back out to center, but Edmonton sends it right back in, and here comes Florida sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Here's Florida. Long boards, and here's a chance. Stopped by Skinner, and here's another chance. Blocked in front. And here's another chance. Pass blocked in front as Edmonton sends it up the ice. Here's Edmonton with a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton now. I'm sorry. I know why I can't stop yawning. Here's Florida sending it out, and it goes out of play. Florida is in control of this game so far, 1-0. Nearly 4 minutes left to go in this first period. Shots are in favor of Edmonton. 10-6 so far. Edmonton is also leading in hits, 7-6. Florida is leading in blocked shots with 6. Edmonton has 5. Florida is leading in takeaways, 4-1. So we'll have to see how the rest of this first period goes. Can't wait to see if Connor McDavid gets either a goal or an assist tonight. So we'll have to see here. And Florida had a great chance. Like Sam Bennett had good luck, but he couldn't get the shot off there as Florida wins the face-off. Tkachuk sends it out. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone. trying to send it through center. Here comes Edmonton. Tries to send it in. But here's Florida now. Tried to send it to center. Edmonton sends it in. Here's Florida now behind the net. I'm sorry. Here's Marchand trying to get a shot, but ultimately shut down by the Oilers defense as they try and get it out the center. Shots are still in favor of Edmonton here, but Florida nearly had another goal. And here's the face-off near Florida zone. Here's Florida trying to send it in after the face-off, and they do, and a shot stopped by Stuart Skinner. Another shot sent wide as the puck goes out to center ice, and Florida sends it back in. Skinner tries to play the puck. Here's Edmonton trying to clear. He said, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm a yawning machine today. And Florida sends it all the way down the ice for icing. And Florida had a great chance to make it 2-0, but Skinner made 2 great saves to keep it 1-0 here. As the faceoff is won by Edmonton, sending it behind the net. Here's Edmonton in the corner. Here's Florida behind their net. Florida gets it out to center ice. Scrum along the boards for the puck. Here comes Florida. Shot blocked in front. Here's Nurse trying to clear it. Now, here's Florida. Missed pass, nearly went out of the zone. And here's the shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida. Nearly went in, but saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida with another shot saved by Skinner. Here's Edmonton getting the puck out the center ice. 1 minute left to go here in the first period. And here's Florida in Edmonton's zone. Here's a shot. They score! Beats Skinner high glove side. 2-0 Florida. Less than a minute to go here in the first period. Florida takes a 2-0 lead. Kachuk got the goal. I believe icing might be the call here. Shots on goal are equal at 10. What a goal by Florida here to make it 2-0. And I believe Matthew Tkachuk, who scored the goal, came right off the bench, and here's the face-off won by Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Edmonton sends it out the center. Here's Edmonton now with the puck. Sending it into Florida zone. 15 seconds to go. And Florida sends it in with sends it out, with less than 10 seconds left to go. And that'll be the end of this first period, as Florida leads with a commanding 2-0 lead. What a game so far for Florida, scoring twice, once within the first 5 minutes of the game, and then they score within the final minute of this first period. So, what a wild start. I'll get some hockey cards here. I'll stick with these two cards for right now. Got Sergei Bobrovsky. He was performed very well in these cup finals, playing in, I believe, every single game of these playoffs, which I'm sure most goaltenders aren't really used to doing. Here is Bobrovsky playing every single playoff game, and he's won 15 of these playoff games. And here's my next card, Sam Bennett. Yeah. Despite getting into some trouble and getting into the penalty box, I feel like Sam Bennett has done great things for Florida as well. He's leading the NHL playoffs in goals. And he doesn't have any goals in this game, but he has definitely been good part of the Florida team here. As I'll run through goal scorers and just a couple stats here. Sam Reinhart opened the scoring nearly 4 minutes 40 seconds into this game. And then Matthew Tkachuk, with less than a minute to go in the first period, made it 2-0 for Florida. Edmonton leads in shots 10-9. And blocked shots are equal at 5 for each team. Florida is leading in hits, 10-9. Florida is dominating in takeaways, 4-1. And I'll try and find some news from around the NHL. NHL is getting ready for the Olympics in the winter here. Well, not this winter, but next winter for the Winter Olympics. And that's all I can find from around the league right now. And 2 goals for Florida, which I don't entirely blame on Skinner for not saving, but defense didn't quite do their job. So we'll have to see what Edmonton can do in this second period. So and as we're waiting for the second period to start, we have a poll in the live chat asking who will win tonight's game, so feel free to go cast your vote if you haven't yet. And please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year, so you subscribing is greatly appreciated. And just trying to find one last stat here. Florida is also leading in giveaways, 6-2. So I'm gonna try and find some clean hockey dad jokes here. And by, maybe not. I got a good joke here. Did you know hockey jokes are a crowd favorite? They keep fans entertained during intermissions. Everyone Everyone loves a good pun on the ice. Here's a good joke. What did the ice rink say to the hockey player? You crack me up. That's kind of bad. But it's kind of true. What do you call a hockey player with a broken stick? Unstuck. I can see how that could be a little funny. Why did the hockey player sit on the ice? To chill out. Yeah, he wanted to chill out. Why did the player bring a pencil to the game? To draw a penalty. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Trying to find another one. Why did the referee get kicked out of the party? He kept calling for penalties. Why do hockey players love winter? Because they can finally chill out. Okay, that's kind of funny. I'll find one more joke here before I get totally carried away. Why did the referee always carry a pencil? To draw the line on bad plays. That's kind of good. If you're just joining in and haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So please click that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And we have a live poll going on in the chat. So feel free to go cast your vote. Gonna let it go into the second intermission. So feel free to cast your vote in the chat. As the second period should be starting up here. Thank you, Gogs, as to provide the information that Canada names the first 6 players for the preliminary Olympics roster. I'll see if game's gonna come back here. It should be getting back here from commercials. It should be starting up here. Should be starting up here before too long. And 2 penalties in this game so far. 1 for Edmonton, 1 for Florida. Both at the same time with nearly 10 minutes left to go here. And here we go. Second period of play. Florida wins the face-off and sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton now behind their net, trying to get it up through center. Here's Edmonton now. Sending it around. Trying to get it through center, which they kind of do before Florida sends it back towards Edmonton's zone. Here's Darnell Nurse now, trying to pass it up through center, and here's shot into Florida's zone, and Florida now trying to bring it into Edmonton's zone, which they do. They send it around the boards. Here's Edmonton now, through center. As an Edmonton player trips up, and takedown by Edmonton. Now they are coming up through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Florida picks it up, taken away by Edmonton. I gotta get... there we go. And here comes Edmonton into their own, into Florida zone. Here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone. Here's Connor McDavid trying to center. Couldn't get the shot off, and Florida sends it all the way down the ice for icing. And McDavid had a great chance. Tried to put it right under Bobrovsky's pad, but couldn't quite do it. Or maybe he was looking to center. But here's the face-off won by Edmonton, and a shot stopped by Bobrovsky. As Draisaitl is trying to fight for the puck. Here comes Florida now. Edmonton trying to bring it in. Here's McDavid. Pass across, and went wide. And here comes Florida the other way, and a shot stopped by Bobrovsky as that goes into the netting. Jeez, what a sequence of events. Yeah, McDavid had a good look. Oh, Corey Perry had a great look. With great chance, but the pass was too much for him and couldn't quite get the shot off. I feel bad for Perry, as face-off is won by Florida, as they're behind the net. Florida sends it in deep. Here's Florida behind the net. Here's Nurse now, trying to send it out to center. Successful. And here's Edmonton with a shot, saved by Bobrovsky. Please click that subscribe button if you're joining in. Or just joining in, I'm sorry. Trying to get to 40 subscribers by the end of this stream, and then 100 subscribers by the end of this year. Here's Edmonton after the one face-off, and here's a takeaway by Florida. Shot saved by Skinner as the puck goes all the way down the ice, but Florida beats icing. Here's Florida now. Bennett trying to wrap around, and a save by Bobrovsky. Or not Bobrovsky, I'm sorry. A save by Skinner. Here's Bennett again, passing it up. Sending it back behind the net. Here's Edmonton now. Sending it into Florida zone. Here's Jones going behind his net for Florida. Florida sends it out to center. Edmonton trying to free the puck up. Here's Edmonton now. Bouchard with the pass. Sending it around the boards. Here's Edmonton now. Florida behind the net. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone after Florida clears the puck. Edmonton sends it around the boards. Here's Edmonton now. His shot saved by Bobrovsky. And Bobrovsky tripped up a little bit. And Skinner out to play the puck after Florida sends it in. Here's Edmonton now sending the puck in. Draisaitl behind the net, passing it up to Darnell Nurse. As offsides appears to be the call here. Oh yeah, there was a great chance by Edmonton where the puck was like right in front of the net. And like no one was there, and there was like a wide open net. No one was able to put the puck in the net. And we got a live poll going in the chat, so feel free to go cast your vote if you haven't yet. And please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 40 subscribers by the end of this stream and 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. And thank you to all those who have subscribed so far. Shots are in favor of Edmonton, 15-12, as we are coming back from intermission. Face-off won by Edmonton, as they are offsides again. And feel free to invite some people into the stream. If they're just getting into hockey or have been watching hockey for a little bit. And here's Edmonton now behind the net. Here's Florida trying to clear, but Edmonton keeps it in before Florida gets it into Edmonton's zone. Here comes Edmonton through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Here's Florida coming from their own zone through center into Edmonton's zone now, sending it into the corner. Behind the net now. Here's Florida with a chance. A shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Great save there. I know how that puck got through all that traffic. Here's a face-off won by Florida as they send it behind Edmonton's net. Good hit by Bouchard there as Florida sends it back behind the net. And Edmonton now flips it out to center. But here's Marchand now, passing it to Barkov, and a shot saved by Skinner. Here's Florida with a missed pass as that goes all the way down the ice. Here's Florida now coming through center. Here's McDavid now coming through the zone. Here's Florida now coming through center. I'm sorry. Here's a fight along the board for the puck. And the referee blows the whistle as Tkachuk is apparently sitting on the puck. Weird, but alright. And both teams are having great chances. And Edmonton wins the face-off as they go behind the net. Coming out the center. Here comes Florida through center. Trying to send it into Edmonton's zone, which they now do. As delayed offsides was waved off. And here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone. Bobrovsky plays the puck. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone, and a good chance, saved by Bobrovsky. I'm sorry. I can't stop yawning. Edmonton leads in shots on goal, 17-14. And here's Edmonton now after the win face-off. Here's Florida now coming through center. Here's Sam Bennett. Shot. Blocked in front and covered by Bobrovsky. Or not Bobrovsky, I'm sorry. Stuart Skinner. I'm sorry. My mind is just not working tonight. I don't know why. And Edmonton is still leading in shots on goal. 17-15. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone. Florida sends it all the way down the ice. Here's Florida now in Edmonton zone as they try and send it behind the net. Edmonton clears the puck and icing is waved off. And here's Florida trying to clear the puck. They do. And Edmonton sends it all the way down the ice. Ekholm over to Bouchard with a shot, sent wide. Here's Edmonton now. Bouchard with a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky, and scrum in front of the net. Zebras are gonna split that up here as Florida is taking over in these cup finals and taking over this game, going up 2-0. What a game up to this point. Many good chances for both teams. Edmonton is leading in blocked shots with 7, and Florida only has 6. Florida is leading in hits, 14-13. And both teams have 1 penalty, both in the first period. And if you're just joining in, thank you for joining in. Please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 40 subscribers by the end of this stream. We're just 1 subscriber away from that goal. And we're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So, you subscribing, hold on, I'm sorry, just forgot what I was gonna say. I'll remember it later. Here's the face-off in Florida zone. Here's the face-off won by Florida. Now a scrum along the boards for the puck, and Florida comes away with it. But Edmonton tries to keep it in, which they can't. Florida sends it in. Skinner out to stop the puck. And here's McDavid on near chance. Bobrovsky plays it though. Edmonton sends it behind Florida's net. And Florida clears the zone now. And Edmonton sends it in the zone. Here's Ekholm over to Bouchard with a shot. Missed the net here. Here's Florida on 3-on-2. Couldn't get a shot off. Here's Barkov. Tried to center it. Couldn't get it though. And Skinner covers up the puck. And feel free to check out the poll and feel free to check out the poll in the live chat here. I'll be closing that up here at the second intermission. And here's Florida after one face-off with a shot saved by Skinner. Skinner's doing good in the second period so far. And here we go. Face off won by Florida. And the puck is sent out to center ice. Here's Florida with the puck now, sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Edmonton tried to clear, but Florida keeps it in, and a shot is sent wide. Here's Florida now with a shot, saved by Stuart Skinner. Whistle didn't go for a little bit. Shots on goal are still in favor of Edmonton, 9-6. Or not 9-6, I'm sorry. Shots are in favor of Edmonton, 19-16. Just had to add 10. That's kind of close. Here's shot by Florida, blocked in traffic. Here's Edmonton now, trying to get something going. And here's Florida on a 3-on-2. Tried to get it over, but the pass was blocked. Here's Edmonton trying to clear, but Florida brings it back into the zone. Here's Kachuk with a shot. Sent wide. Here's Edmonton trying to clear. They do. Here's Florida in their own zone. Evander Kane with a good hit. As Florida now behind their net trying to clear. They get it out the center and down the ice. Edmonton now behind the net. Here comes Edmonton with speed. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Bouchard sending it in. Florida sends it back out as icing is the call. Shots on goal still in favor of Edmonton, 19-16, as Florida is still leading 2-0. In Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Florida looking to bring the cup home for the second straight year. Edmonton looking to dethrone the former cup champs. As the refs are reviewing something. Here's face-off won by Edmonton. Florida pops it out the center. Here's Florida now behind Edmonton's net. Here's Florida trying to send it back in. Edmonton gets it out of the zone though, and Florida sends it right back in. Marchand with a good hit. Here's Edmonton now after Florida failed to send it into Edmonton's zone. Less than 5 minutes left to go here in the second period. Edmonton sends it into the far corner. Here's Edmonton with a chance. Blocked in front, another chance. Couldn't get to the net. Come on, Edmonton, let's at least get a goal here. Here's Edmonton now at center ice after Florida sends it out. And Bobrovsky gloves that after Edmonton sends it in. 4 minutes left to go here. And Game 6 of the Cup Finals. Stretching out here. And feel free to cast a vote in the poll in the chat here. We'll get that closed up here during the second intermission. So if you haven't yet, please go check out the poll in the live chat. And if you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if Edmonton can somehow come back from a 2-0 lead by Florida, we'll do a Game 7 stream. So stay tuned for that. And here's Florida after the one face-off. Sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida trying to center, but Edmonton sends it out and down the ice. Bobrovsky plays the puck. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida sending it behind Edmonton's net. Here's Edmonton trying to clear, but Florida takes it away. And a centering pass couldn't get into the back of the net. Here's Florida now. Sending it behind the net. The shot saved by Skinner, and they score! With 2.5 minutes left to go. Florida makes it 3-0. Reinhardt got the goal. His second of the game. Here's Edmonton behind the net. Sending it out to center. And puck, I believe, goes out of play. And we'll have to see how Skinner does here. And here's Edmonton after Florida won the face-off. Here's Edmonton now in their offensive zone, and Bobrovsky grabs the puck, and the scrum forms behind the net. One minute, 47 seconds here left to go in the second period. Face off here in Florida zone, which Florida wins as they try and send it out and down the ice, as icing is the call. Yeah, I'm feeling bad for Edmonton right now. And here's Florida after the one face off, sending it into Edmonton zone. And icing is the call again. Here's the face off. Florida wins. And trying to send it down is Florida. Here's Draisaitl. As he gets knocked down, the puck goes out of the offensive zone and down into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone with Draisaitl. Here's a scrum behind Florida's net for the puck. And here's a shot sent just wide. Less than a minute left to go here in the second period. Here's Florida now, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's a shot saved by Skinner. Here's Florida now at the blue line, sending it behind the net. The puck sent out of the zone, and icing is the call. And 15.7 seconds left to go. As Edmonton is leading in the shots on goal 20-18. Feels like some of them should have gone in already. Here's Florida after the one face off, sending it into Edmonton zone. Edmonton trying to send it out. Florida sends it back in, and that'll end this second period of play. Edmonton is leading 3-0 after, Florida is leading 3-0 after the second. Did I say Edmonton or Florida? I can't remember. Florida is leading 3-0 after 2 periods of play. I'll go through goal scorers here. Sam Reinhart made it 1-0. And then Matthew Tkachuk made it 2-0 for Florida. And then in the second period here, Sam Reinhart made it 3-0 after off of a deflection in front. Not looking good for Edmonton. On the brink of yet another heartbreak loss. And Edmonton is leading in the hits, 22-18, as well as in blocked shots, 10-8. And shots in the first and second period for both teams are identical. Edmonton had 10 shots both in the first and second periods, and Florida had 9 in both the first and the second periods. And it totally feels like some of those 20 shots for Edmonton should have gone in. But Bobrovsky has done great things in net for Florida, and that's why this game is still at 3-0 for Florida. Welcome into all new viewers. Thanks for joining in. Please click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos or live streams. Intermissions, I believe, are around 16, 17 minutes. They're kind of long. And we'll see how Skinner does, but if Edmonton's coach wants to put in Pickard, then that's his decision. But we'll have to see what Edmonton's coach thinks is the best for Edmonton. I'll try and see if there's other news from around the league. 2026 Olympics are to begin on February 11th with Team Slovakia against Team Finland. So that'll be a game to look forward to start the 2026 Winter Olympics. I'll pull up just a couple more jokes here. Clean hockey jokes. Why do hockey players make great comedians? They always deliver the punchlines. That's kind of good. What's a hockey player's favorite type of music? Anything that's a hit. That's also kind of good. Why did the hockey player always carry a pencil? To draw up plays. Not the best, but still a good joke. Why did the goalie bring a suitcase? He wanted to save his best moves for the big game. Kind of fitting for these cup finals. I'll do one last joke here. Why did the hockey player bring a ladder to the game? To reach the top shelf. I'll do some last stats here. Florida is leading in takeaways 4-1, as well as in giveaways 12-6. So we'll see how this poll's going. The people have spoken and said that Florida might win Game 6. So we'll see if that ends up being the case here. They have to claw their way back from a 3-0 lead set by Florida. Should be coming back here soon. Should be getting started here soon. Bobrovsky is doing great for Florida in goal, and we'll have to see what Edmonton's coach decides for the third period, whether to keep Skinner in goal or put in Calvin Pickard. And hopefully Pickard can close out the game if he ends up getting put in goal. Welcome into all new viewers. Please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So please click that subscribe button to stay updated on future videos and live streams that I'll do in the future. And this has been a pretty one-sided game so far for Florida. So yeah, we'll have to see what Edmonton's game plan is here for the third period, as we should be coming back here shortly. Should be getting back to the action here shortly. Here we are at the start of the third period. Face-off one here by Edmonton, as Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida behind the net. Send behind the net. And Stuart Skinner is in net for Edmonton. Here's a shot by Edmonton, blocked in front. Here's Florida now sending it behind Edmonton's net. And Edmonton now sending it out the center. Sending it back into Edmonton's zone is Florida. Here's Edmonton trying to clear the puck. Here's Edmonton through center. Sending the puck into Florida's zone. Here's a shot stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's another shot blocked. Edmonton sends it behind the net. Here's Edmonton behind the net. Here's Edmonton, and they send it back out to center ice. Here's Edmonton back in their own zone, as here comes Edmonton through center and into Florida's zone. Here comes Florida through center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida with a chance. Couldn't quite get the shot off there as Edmonton sends it into Florida's zone. Here's Edmonton with a shot sent wide and out to center ice. 17.5 minutes left to go in the third period. Here's Florida after Edmonton sends it in. Here's Edmonton behind their net. Here's Florida trying to center it. Couldn't get the shot off. And here's Florida with a shot. Sent wide or blocked. Here's Edmonton coming through center. McDavid. Draisaitl. Back to McDavid. Centering pass. Couldn't find his intended person. Here's McDavid. Pass. It was shot by Bouchard. Saved by Bobrovsky. Here's Bouchard again. Here's McDavid. Shot. Blocked and sent up into the netting. What a game so far. But Florida is so far controlling this game. We'll see if Edmonton can score here. And here's Florida after the one face-off. Bringing it out the center and sending it down into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton on the takeaway through center. And Florida sends it down the ice. Skinner out to play the puck. Here comes Edmonton. Through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Here comes Florida. Trying to send it into Edmonton's zone. Sending it behind the net. Florida sends it behind Edmonton's net before Edmonton gives it away to Florida, and Florida sends it behind the net. Here's Florida coming up to center. Here's near breakaway shot saved by Skinner. Here's Florida and they send it out. 15 minutes left here in the third period as Florida in their own zone trying to clear it. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida in Edmonton's zone, sending it behind the net. Around the net again. Around once more as Edmonton tries to get the puck and clear it. They get it out the center. And here's McDavid with a pass and pass back to McDavid. Couldn't get on that. Here's McDavid. Sending it behind the net to Draisaitl. Tried to pass out front. Here's Florida now. Sending it down the ice. Here's another chance for Florida. Couldn't get the shot off and they finally do. Sent wide. Here's Edmonton now with a shot blocked or saved by Bobrovsky. Here's Florida on a chance now with a shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida sending it behind Edmonton's net. Here's Florida now. Another shot blocked in front. Edmonton tries to send it in, but Florida denies and sends it into Edmonton's zone. And here's Edmonton now through center. Here's Florida now trying to send it in, but here's Edmonton trying to kickstart things here. And here's Edmonton through center and into the offensive zone. Here is Florida trying to clear it, but Edmonton keeps it in, sends it behind the net. Here's Florida after they send it out. Here's Edmonton in their own zone, trying to send it in on the attack. And here's Edmonton now with a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky as Florida sends it down the ice. 11 and a half minutes left to go in the third period here as Edmonton sends it into Florida territory. Here's McDavid behind the net. Here's Bouchard with a shot sent wide. Another shot blocked, and Florida clears it out of the zone, and offsides the call. Yeah. It seems like Perry was so close, but he sent the puck wide. Welcome into all new viewers. Thanks for stopping by. Please click that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So, you subscribing would be greatly appreciated. And thanks to everyone who already has subscribed. And make sure to turn on notifications as well so you don't miss future uploads and future streams. And I believe shots on goal are still in favor of Edmonton. 24-18. And the Stanley Cup is in the building. Here's the face-off at center ice. Face-off won by Florida. Here comes Florida through center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida, the chance in front. Couldn't get the shot off. Sending it behind Edmonton's net is Florida again. Here comes Edmonton now. Sending it into Florida's zone. Here comes Florida behind their net. Taken away by Edmonton. Here's a shot. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Here comes Bennett now, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here comes McDavid with speed through center. 10 minutes left to go in this third period. Florida still leads 3-0. Here's Bouchard. Tried to get a pass, and here's a breakaway shot. Stopped by Skinner. Great save there made by Stuart Skinner off the breakaway. On for Hagee. And hopefully Edmonton can find a way to score 3 goals in a little less than 10 minutes here. I'll try and find some more stats here. Edmonton is leading in terms of hits, 26-24. Try and find something from around the league. Nothing from around the league, but I'll bring in one last stat. Giveaways are still 16-8 in favor of Florida. And hopefully Connor McDavid can at least get a goal or hopefully help to kickstart the comeback. And Matthew Tkachuk's brother Brady's in the building, who plays for the Ottawa Senators, who were eliminated in the first round by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here's the face-off won by Edmonton before being sent out to center, and Skinner out to stop the puck after it was rimmed around the boards. Here comes Edmonton through center, sending it around the boards and out of play. This has been a back and forth battle physically, but Florida, being the powerhouse team they are, is up 3-0 so far, with less than 9.5 minutes left to go. And the puck is sent out towards center. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't stop yawning tonight. And the puck is sent into Florida's zone. Bobrovsky had to play the puck. Here's Edmonton in their own zone. Through center and sent into Florida's zone. Here comes Florida. Through center. Edmonton takes it away. Edmonton gets it ahead, but Florida is there to collect the puck. Here comes Edmonton through center, and they send it into Florida's zone. Here's Florida trying to send it out, but here's Edmonton behind the net. Here's Kane with a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky. And the puck is sent down the ice. And here's a takeaway, stopped by Skinner on the shot. Here's Florida sending it around. And the shot sent just wide. Big hit along the boards. Here's Edmonton through center. Florida now in their own zone. Florida trying to send it in. 7 minutes, 10 seconds here left to go. And here comes Edmonton with speed. Couldn't get a shot off as Florida sends it down the ice. And that'll be icing. What a game up to this point, and what a series. It's been a great series up to this point, and it looks like Skinner is getting the yank. Wait, they're going empty net here with 7 minutes to go. They're going empty net. Here's Edmonton sending it up. Here's Bouchard passing it behind the goal line. This is risky. Here's Florida. And they score. Reinhart gets the hat trick. Not quite a natural hat trick, but not 100. No, okay. It's 4-0 now in favor of Florida. Reinhardt's gotta be feeling good now. Pulling your goalie with like 7 minutes to go is pretty risky. Usually you would want to wait until like the 2-minute mark to pull your goalie. Not like 7 minutes left to go. And McDavid doesn't look too happy. Florida wins the face-off and sends it around the boards. Florida sends it around the net again. And Edmonton sends it down the ice for icing. Well, not looking good for Edmonton. Not looking good for Edmonton with around 6 minutes left to go here as they win the face-off. Here's Edmonton in their own zone, or in their offensive zone, I'm sorry. And the puck goes out of play. There's the Stanley Cup being shined up here as Florida looks to win it for the second year in a row. I know. Yeah, lots of great scoring chances for Edmonton, but Florida had even better chances, and that's how they're up 4-0. And Reinhart has the hat trick. And around 6 minutes left to go here in regulation. Just under 6 minutes. Edmonton is still leading in shots on goal, 26-22. They're also in lead with hits, 27-25. Blocked shots are equal at 15 per team. And Skinner is back on the bench again. Oh, they're putting the extra attacker on again. Here we go again as Edmonton sends it into Florida's zone. And Edmonton puts it at the blue line. Ekholm passes to McDavid. Draisaitl behind the net. Back to Ekholm. Bouchard. Here's a shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. Ekholm to Bouchard. To McDavid with a shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. And here's Florida with a chance to make it 5-0. And yep. Reinhart, the goal machine. His 4th. Four-goal performance for Reinhart. He has just been on fire. Getting the Hattie and then sealing the deal. I don't know why Edmonton decided to pull their goalie there. I mean, you're already down 4. With like 5 minutes left to go in the game. Here's Edmonton after the one face-off, sends it into Florida's zone. Here's a shot, saved by Bobrovsky. Oh, and they score! I didn't even get a good look at the goal. Oh, and just squeaks by Bobrovsky, and then someone put it in for Edmonton. Here's Edmonton off the win face-off, sending it into Florida's zone. Here's Edmonton in their own zone after Florida sends it in. Here comes Edmonton coming through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Around 4 minutes left to go. And Florida dumps it into Edmonton's zone. 4 minutes left to go. Here comes Edmonton. Taken away by Florida. And here's Edmonton again, sending it into Florida's zone. Bobrovsky had to stop that. Around 3.5 minutes left to go. And Florida sends it out of the zone towards center ice. Here's a chance, just wide. Here's Florida behind the net. Behind the net again. Here's Florida now, sending it behind the net. Here's Florida sending it behind the net. 2.5 minutes left to go in this game. Here comes Florida, sending it behind the net. Apparently, Evander Kane took like a splash at Matthew Tkachuk. And it does not look like Edmonton is winning this year. There's always next year. Always next year. Here's Edmonton after the one face-off. Florida, or Edmonton now, with 2 minutes possibly left in the season. Here's Edmonton coming through center. Here's a chance. Couldn't get the shot off. Here's Florida fans singing, "Na na na na, goodbye." One and a half minutes left to go in the season. Here's a chance. Florida sends it out. Here comes Edmonton, sending it around the boards, and puck goes down the ice. Edmonton sends it in. Less than a minute to go in the season. Here's Edmonton coming through center, sending it into Florida zone. 30 seconds left to go here in the season as icing is waved off. "20 seconds left in the season as Edmonton dumps it in. "10 seconds left to go in the season, and that's going to be it. That's going to be it. Florida wins the cup for the second year in a row. The Rat Pack's on top. And the 2025 Stanley Cup belongs to the Florida Panthers. I feel bad for Edmonton, to be honest. Getting pumped in Game 6. But you gotta respect Florida for putting in all the effort they've done to win the Stanley Cup for the second straight year. Connor McDavid looks pretty sad. And for the second straight year, the Florida Panthers beat the Edmonton Oilers in the Cup final. What a game. Here goes the handshake line. What a game, what a series. But Florida comes out on top for the second straight year. Brad Marchand will become a free agent. We'll see if he becomes a Leaf. But who knows what the off-season will bring. Off-season's full of craziness, so that trade could go down. Bobrovsky gets to add his second cup ring. So does Matthew Tkachuk. What a game. That'll pretty much wrap it up for tonight. Thank you all for watching Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, and please subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads and live streams. I got a good video planned here that'll come out within hopefully the next week or so. Yeah, hopefully in the next week or 2 weeks, but stay tuned for that, and good night to all.